I'm gonna start by clipping my hair back just so we don't have that fallout in our face while we're doing our makeup. And these clips I got from the beauty supply store. They're like alligator clips, I believe. You can also purchase them on Amazon, but I'm just using those to hold my hair out my face. Now I did do my brows already because Nars does not have brow products. I wish they did, but they don't, which is perfectly fine. So I just use my everyday stuff for my brows, and I did clean it up with a little bit of their concealer, but we're gonna go into that same concealer. This is the Soft Matte Concealer in Medium Dark 1 Biscuit, and I'm just gonna take this to prime my lids. If you guys have been watching my videos for a while, then you know this is like holy grail to me, especially for using as an eyeshadow base. But I have used it as actual concealer underneath my eyes as well. And I'm sure I did a video using this product, and it works great for that as well. It's just so creamy, and I really love this stuff. So now that our lids are nice and primed, we're gonna move into eyeshadow. There are two different palettes I will be using today for the tutorial. Now, I have used both of these palettes before on my channel, so I do have looks with them as individuals, but today we're gonna kind of mix them together. The first one is the Nars Afterglow palette. I love this palette. I mean, how can you not? So there's this one, and then we're also going to use their Voyager shadow palette, and this one is actually in suede, which I used, I believe, last year for my birthday or around that time. So we're back again with it. Now for this palette in specific, I think we're going to stick to the darker brown on the outer corner, but we'll just have to see where this look takes us because I don't have any set plans. Now the first thing I'm going to do is grab the two top brown shades, mix them together, and buff it in my crease. And to do that, I am going to use the Morphe M441. Now as you guys can see, the pigmentation on these shadows can be intense if you do not take a little bit at a time. I did get a lot of pigment on the outer corner when I first laid my brush down, but I'm just going to work on blending this out. A little bit does go a long way. And I do find that these shadows are easily blended out and buildable as well. So now that we have a nice flush of color on our lids and in our crease, kind of defining it a little bit, I'm now going to go into the orange shade in the palette, and I'm just going to take a little bit of that on the same brush and focus this not only on the outer corner of my eye, but also use it just to kind of help further blend those two brown shades that we put on previously. And I'm just going to tap it right here in the outer corner just to start building up some pigmentation and color out there, as well as just brush it back and forth in the crease. So it's like a soft build of color, but the more of the product you use, the more intense it gets. Right now we just want to keep it really soft, but I will intensify it a little later on. So now I want to start to deepen up this look. So I'm going to take the deeper brown shade out of the two that we initially used, and I'm going to swirl my brush in that generously, and then put this on the outer corner just to start building this shadow up and making it a little bit darker. And I'm also using a M433 to do this, and I'm going to blend it, but like a little bit underneath the crease. Like I don't want to take it as far up as I did the rest of the shadows. I want to keep it a little bit lower. I am going to take the M441 again and just use this just to clean up the perimeter and just make sure everything is still nice and blended. Kind of just want to blend as you go along. That way you don't have to worry about working twice as hard later. But the key to any like flawless looking eyeshadow is just to constantly make sure you're blending in between shadows and when you're applying shadows, just so everything lays nicely, which I'm sure you guys know by now. So before I go any further, I'm gonna quickly cut my lid. I am going to use the same concealer that we used to conceal our lids in the first place. I just am feeling a cut crease moment, so I'm just gonna quickly do this, and then we can jump into the next shadow. Once I'm done applying the concealer, I like to use that same brush that I used with the deeper brown shade, the M433, and I'm just blending the concealer with the outer corner color just because I want a nice seamless blend. I don't want like a harsh line of where the concealer ends. So just gonna tap a little bit of extra product out here. Now it's time to pick our lid shade. So I am debating with myself because I've been using like coppers and oranges for my shimmers lately, and I kind of want to switch it up. So I am thinking about using the one in here, which is like a pinky copper kind of color. Now the formula in this palette is so good to where I don't have to wet the brush to get a good intense shimmer. Now obviously you could, it would, in my opinion, give it a more monochromatic eye look, but I want it just to be a nice subtle pop of color. Be there, but not be too intense, if that makes any sense. This is honestly my first time using this shimmer shade in this palette, and I have to say, I think it's very, very pretty and gorgeous. It's not too pink. It kind of has like that coppery pink feel to it, but it's definitely girly, but I like it. It's girly in like an elegant way, if that makes any sense, but I am enjoying this shadow. So now that we have that laid down, we're gonna darken up the outer corner just a little bit more. But before I do that, let me tell you guys what brush I was using. I'm trying to tell you guys brushes as I use them. This is the JH41. That's what I used just to lay down that shimmer shade. Now we're gonna dig into the deep brown shade in this palette, and I'm gonna use the M507 to do this. I love using this brush for this kind of work. I think I've said that before as well, but it just helps you get so precise. So I'm just gonna drag it right here on the lower outer 1/3 of the lower lash line. And when you use this shadow, it kind of actually looks a little black. So you wanna be very careful because it is very pigmented, and I'm just using a very small amount, and I'm just gonna blend this out down here. So it's kind of like creating a liner in a sense, but you're not dragging it completely across the eye. We're just keeping it literally out here on this lower like 1/3 portion of the eye, and I'm just gonna blend it. Now to add just a little bit something extra, I'm gonna go ahead and grab the orange shimmer shade in the Afterglow palette, just a very small amount, and I'm gonna place this in between the pink, the dark brown that we used, and the other brown that we used. So right here. This isn't gonna do much. It's just gonna add just a little bit of something extra, and just to kind of use shimmers in both palettes. You could definitely do without it. It doesn't add anything too much to the look, but it definitely does change up the overall eye look just a little bit. So I'm gonna leave the eyeshadow alone for now, and then we can do the lower lash line later on once our base is on. But I am gonna coat my lashes now, and to do that, I'm gonna use their Climax mascara. Now, I did love this mascara when it first came out and launched, and I bought it, I used it, but it's not one that I reach for too often. Now this, I will say, does transfer. Like if you use it on your lower lash line, it does kind of like bleed throughout the day. So I wouldn't recommend using it on your lower lashes, but I definitely do use it just to coat my top lashes, considering I'm gonna put false lashes on anyways. So the mascara doesn't necessarily matter, but because I have theirs, I'm definitely gonna use theirs. Now this mascara does not necessarily give your lashes volume, but it does a great job with like separating them and giving them a little bit of length, which is why I like it so much, but the volume is definitely not something it gives too much of. Now let's talk base products. So we're gonna start with priming our face, of course, and I do have two different primers here that do two totally different things. The first one is the Pore and Shine Control Primer from Nars. Obviously from Nars, this is a full face of Nars products, but this is what that primer looks like. Now this one, I would have to say, isn't my favorite to use as far as pore filling and stuff like that. I definitely prefer other primers above this one, but it is a decent primer. I mean, I'm just gonna keep it real with you guys. It's not one that I reach for very, very often. However, this other one that we will be using today is their Radiance Primer, and I love this one for two reasons. Number one, it makes your face so glowy and your foundation go on so smoothly and glowy. But not only that, it also has SPF 35 in it, and any SPF over 30 is great for your skin and it's going to be very beneficial. So that's also great. If you don't like using a SPF by itself, you can definitely use this primer and get away with applying your SPF for the day with just using this. This primer is amazing, and I love using this all over my face because it just gives it that nice glow, and your makeup goes on very, very smoothly after using this primer. So you guys see how soft and just glowy my skin looks without being too glowy. That's what I love so much about this primer, on top of the fact that it has SPF. Like, that's just a bonus. But let's talk about foundation now. Now, my first purchase from Nars was their Sheer Glow foundation, and I loved that at the time. I was definitely a beginner when I bought that foundation, so I feel like that foundation is perfect for beginners, especially if you don't want full on coverage. But the foundation that I'm going to be using today is definitely perfect for those with oily skin. This is like the perfect foundation that isn't mattifying, that you can actually use, that's going to stay on your face all day without making you super oily. The longevity on this is amazing, and this is my holy grail foundation. I've been using it non-stop. I really wish you guys could see the amount of product that I've used, but honestly I took photos before I started this video, so I shook the bottle. But maybe by the end it'll like dissolve down so you guys can really see how much product I have actually used up. And I will be needing to purchase a new one very, very soon. So we are gonna apply this onto our skin, and you guys will see the coverage on this is phenomenal. I just love it. So I am using Syracuse today for my foundation. Now, one thing I will say is that although they do have a wide range of foundation shades, sometimes it can be a little difficult, especially when I tan, so I do have to mix. But overall, finding your shade isn't too hard. And if you're a beginner, you can always, ask for assistance on shade matching you. But this isn't like, I wouldn't say it's my perfect match, but it definitely is doable in the sense that I can put it on and still feel confident wearing it and not feel like, my foundation doesn't match the rest of my body. As someone who has struggled with oily skin and my fair share of mishaps with foundations, I can 100% say without a doubt in my mind that if you have not yet tried this foundation, you definitely should, because you will love it just as much as I do. I just feel like it's made perfectly, with everyone in mind, not just people with dry skin, but oily as well. Now we're gonna move on to concealer. And again, I have the Soft Matte Concealer, but I also have the Radiant Creamy Concealers from them. I have two different shades. This one is caramel. This one is more so my skin tone, if not a little bit deeper. I definitely purchased this one more so for like an even coverage all around, more of like that barely there type of makeup. But I also have this one, Medium 3 Praline, and this is the one that I'm actually going to use today. You guys see me use this concealer quite often here on my channel, and that's because it's such a great formula. Now, I will say one thing about this concealer is that you do have to kind of like dip back into the bottle quite a bit. It's not like those other concealers that are now being made more often, which is a little bit thicker. As far as like the wand, and it grabs more product. This one doesn't grab as much product, but I don't find that to be a problem. It blends out effortlessly, and they do have a wide shade range in these concealers as well. So you're definitely bound to find like the perfect match for you, whether that's something more skin-like or something more brightening. So I'm gonna go ahead and let that sit for a little bit, and while I let that sit, I'm gonna jump into my cream contour. Now, Nars unfortunately does not have cream contour. I wish they did. If you guys are watching this right now, please make one. But I'm gonna do that off camera, and then we can come back, blend out the concealer, and move on. So I went ahead and blended in my concealer and also set my under eyes and my T-zone. Just because I do not have a powder from Nars. They do offer, I know, a pressed powder. I'm not 100% certain on the loose powder, but they do have one. I just don't have one in my collection, so I went ahead and used what I had off camera. Now we can finish out the rest of the face using their products. So I am gonna revert to my under eyes, and I think I wanna keep it fairly simple, so I'm just going to grab the two brown shades that we started with in our crease. and I'm going to take them on an M506, which again, this is one of the brushes aside from the M507 that I like to use for my outer corner, but I also like to use it underneath my eyes as well, especially if I don't want anything too crazy and I just want to blend out the shadows nicely. So just gonna take that under there just to create a little bit of definition underneath the eye and tie everything in all together instead of it just being bare, because I'm really not the type of person that likes a bare under eye. I do it sometimes, but not too often. So I'm just gonna drag a little bit of this color underneath here just to kind of complete the eyes. And then when we get to highlighter, I'll pop a little bit of the highlight in my inner corner. So for bronzer, I have two. Well, they're technically the same, just one's matte, one's the original. They're both the Laguna bronzers. This one right here is the original Laguna bronzer. So it has a slight bit of shimmer, but you can't really tell. And then I also have this one, which is the matte version. This is the newest version that they came out with for the Laguna line. So I am gonna use the matte version today. Not that I don't like the original, honestly, if I'm being 100% honest with you guys, I do not see a difference in the two, but we're just gonna go ahead and use this one. As you guys can see, this bronzer is like perfect for my skin tone. I don't think if you had anything deeper than what my tone is on my skin that this would necessarily show up, but I could be wrong. But definitely not the deeper, darker skin tones. This wouldn't really work in my opinion, but they do have other shades to offer. The Laguna line is just something that they have highly advertised, kind of like the Orgasm. So as you guys can see, it's adding a nice amount of color to my skin, so that way we're not looking one-toned. I do like to take a little bit down here, just like I do with my contour, and then just run this along the sides of my nose. Not that it's probably doing much, but it does a little something, so we'll look nice and put together. For blush, I have the mini Orgasm blush, and it's just very pink. You guys know I'm not crazy about pink, but this is a doable blush because it's not too much. And considering we use that pink kind of shimmer on the lid, I think this will be perfect. So I'm just gonna pop some of this on my cheeks. Now this does have a little bit of glow to it, so you gotta be careful. Or if you don't like glow at all, you probably wouldn't like this one. I'm not sure if they have a matte version of this blush, but I think it's so pretty and definitely very girly, but so pretty, and it adds the right amount of flush to the cheeks without being too much or too intense. And I don't even mind the little bit of glow that it gives. It just, I don't know, it ties the look together in my opinion. Now that we're done with blush, we're gonna move into highlighter. I'm gonna use the Nars highlight in Ibiza. Now this one in particular, I did not pick up at Sephora. I actually got this one at Marshall's. So I don't know if they sell it anymore or not, because I haven't personally looked, but when I saw this highlighter at Marshall's, I definitely felt like I had to get it. So you guys know I like to just focus my highlighter out here on the outer like V part of my eye and my cheekbone. And it's just very golden, so I really do like this. This highlighter definitely will be great for deeper skin tones. I think it'll be very, very beautiful. You can't be too light and use this, or it might look too golden, but I do love using this highlighter. So before we get to the lips, I am gonna jump off camera again. I'm gonna pop on some lashes, set my makeup down, then I'll come back and we can dive into my lip choice for today. So I'm back and my lashes are now on. I really do love these lashes. This is the first time that I'm wearing them. I know this is a full face of Nars, but just in case any of you guys are curious, I actually picked these lashes up from Windsor, which is a clothing store. These are the Lorella lashes in Ellie, so this is the packaging for them, but I'm gonna have to go back and get a couple more because this is a very, very pretty style. Now let's move on to the lips. So for my lips, Nars does have lip liners, but I don't have any in my collection, and with the lipstick of choice that I chose for today's look, it does not need a liner in my opinion. I always put this lipstick on whenever I want like a nice pinky, my lip color but better type of pink lip. And again, I don't feel like you need a liner for it, so this is what it looks like. and I cannot pronounce this name, but it is their matte lipstick. I will have the name of it on the screen, but this is very, very pretty, very matte, but pretty. And again, I do like it because it's like my lips but better. So I think this will definitely fit the vibe of today's makeup look. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this on. You guys just see that? Very matte but very pretty, and it also complements the shimmer on the lids. So I love wearing this lipstick a lot. I do wear it pretty often, but we're also going to top this off. Now this is a newer purchase for me. This is the lip oil from Nars in Orgasm. So we're just gonna take a little bit of this and top our lips off with that. And this gloss is amazing. It glides on so smoothly, and it gives you like a little gloss glow, but not too much. I think this gloss is the perfect topper for this lipstick, just because they're both pink, but also it just looks very, very nice. So if you don't want that matte look, which I do love for my lips, the gloss is also nice because it's glossy but not too glossy, and it's not too shiny or anything, and it goes perfectly on top of that lipstick. All right, you guys, so this here is the finished and final look. I'm really happy that I decided to go with the pink shimmer in the inner part of the lid, only because if I didn't, it would have definitely been something that I have done before, and I've been really into using like gold, shimmers, copper, those types of tones that I don't really lean pink too often, but I'm kind of glad that I did that today. I feel like the overall look really came out together beautifully, and all the products that I have from Nars worked very well together. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys would like another full face tutorial, definitely let me know down below what brand you want me to feature next. I love you guys. I hope you're staying safe, and I will catch you guys in the next upload.